This afternoon, I'd like to make a statement under Standing Order 52-2 in my official capacity as the majority leader in this House and a person who has been charged with the responsibility, Mr. Speaker, of dealing with the business and introducing business in this House, particularly if it comes from counties or from the national government. Mr. Speaker, this statement I am making is pursuant to a motion that was tabled in the National Assembly, and that motion purported, Mr. Speaker, to be lecturing the Senate on its responsibilities. Mr. Speaker, as you may be aware, the Senate is established pursuant to Article 96 of the Constitution, and its mandate is clearly defined. However, its existence and space in the organization of government continues to be challenged by the National Assembly, not for any other, but for political expediency. Mr. Speaker, the existence of the leadership offices in the Senate has similarly been challenged by the same persons. And from the onset, Mr. Speaker, I want to emphasize the fact that this is just being done for political expediency and to confuse the members of public as to the responsibilities of the Senate and its leadership. Mr. Speaker, this state of affairs has occasioned a long-standing misunderstanding and inability by the leadership of the majority side of the two houses and Parliament to agree on the processing of legislation in Parliament as contemplated in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, despite the express and clear provisions of the processing of legislation under Part 4 of Chapter 8 of the Constitution, the legislative process between the two houses of Parliament has suffered serious problems that have literally paralyzed the legislative process and which is, in my view, painted the legislature in a bad light. Mr. Speaker, the Senate legislative role continues to be hampered by the hurdles that are constantly being set out by our sister house, the National Assembly. For instance, the National Assembly has originated and passed bills without reference to the Senate, despite bills being bills that without doubt concern counties. The National Assembly, as for all bills originating in the National Assembly, totally ignored Article 110(3). There is no attempt on the part of the National Assembly in the 12th Parliament and hardly in the 11th Parliament to comply with the 110(3). National Assembly bills are therefore published, introduced, the Assembly, and processed in an act without recourse to Article 110(3). In numerous instances where the Senate has published bills on the Speaker and the Speaker of the Senate as required under Article 110(3) of the Constitution, sought concurrence on the nature of the bills from the National Assembly has opined that the bills do not concern counties. Even where the National Assembly has concurred that the bills originating in the Senate is a bill that concerns counties, the Assembly has gone ahead to determine that the bill is a money bill and thus cannot be processed in the Senate. Bills passed by the Senate and referred to National Assembly have eventually been introduced in the National Assembly by consideration. The bills have taken an inordinately long period of time in the National Assembly. In the 11th Parliament, for example, at the end of the term of the Parliament, 32 bills of the Senate lapsed in the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, it is evident that the situation as reflected by this state of affairs is worrying and is one that requires to be addressed and settled at the earliest. The leadership of both the executive and the legislature, while taking their respective oaths or affirmation before assuming office, undertook to obey, respect, uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Having made this undertaking, we gain nothing as members of Parliament by undermining the very Constitution that we swore to defend and its institutions, including the Senate. It behooves us, too, as members of Parliament, who similarly swore to do so, to remain true to the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I wish to reiterate that the Senate will not be cowed by attempts to muffle its voice in its mandate of legislating and protecting the interests of the counties. Mr. Speaker, the Senate continues to perform its rightful role. I can appreciate, Mr. Speaker, why our colleagues in the National Assembly are shaken by the decision of the Senate to carry out its responsibility diligently and with obedience and respect of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, we've been told one of the reasons why the National Assembly is uncomfortable, or the leadership of National Assembly is uncomfortable with the performance of this House, is because of the thorough nature of investigation that take place in this House when we invite cabinet secretaries to this House, Mr. Speaker. I understand that the leadership of National Assembly, particularly the majority leader, was just holding brief for, Mr. Speaker, individuals in the national government, and particularly cabinet secretaries, that actually want to disobey orders of this House to appear before this House. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Attorney General, because in one of his letters that he wrote to the Senate and then copied to the Senate and National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, if I may ask for your indulgence, because there is a lot of loud consultation.
Order. Senator Sylvia Kasanga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker.
You did very well recently.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, one of the reasons why we have all this noise that comes from National Assembly is because this House has summoned the cabinet secretary and taken them to task on matters security, Mr. Speaker, on matters environment, and I'm happy the Minister of Water was today appearing before a committee of this House to answer questions of oil spillage in Makueni, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have dealt with matters of water, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the dam that busted in Nakuru County. We've dealt, Mr. Speaker, with Ruaraka land, Mr. Speaker, where we came up with a very serious report about the importance of that report, and particularly that Ruaraka land was a public land, which has been confirmed, Mr. Speaker, by the High Court. So, Mr. Speaker, as a result of this seriousness and commitment of the Senate to take to task those who have been given institutions of responsibility at the national level on behalf of the people of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, they have gone using the back door to mislead the members of the National Assembly that this House cannot summon. Let it be known to the people of Kenya that this House can summon anybody, anytime, under Article 125 of the Constitution. And, Mr. Speaker, we have that responsibility to do so that we can be able to interrogate, Mr. Speaker, the functions that those people are engaged in. Number two, Mr. Speaker, is for them to know that although the Constitution says, Mr. Speaker, that insofar as legislation is concerned, the Senate is only going to deal with bills that concern counties, which bills, Mr. Speaker, have been defined by the Supreme Court to be almost every bill will concern counties, Mr. Speaker, except when you have matters of taxes, collection of taxes at the national level. Mr. Speaker, as a result, I want to remind the people of this republic that, Mr. Speaker, there is nowhere written in the Constitution that the Senate cannot summon or investigate a matter, any matter. There is no jurisdiction, there is no limitation as to the responsibility of Senate in investigating and inquiring anything and everything under the sun that affected the people of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And as having done this responsibility diligently, we know how many petitions we receive in this House as a result of the faith that people have in this House. The last thing, Mr. Speaker.
What is it, Senator Ndwiga?
And except to say, Mr. Speaker, as a leader of the majority side, we are lucky to have Senator Gideon Moi also today in the House. Mr. Speaker, insofar as that issue, Mr. Speaker, which is about the limitation of investigation and inquiry by the Senate and the works of the Committee of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, I want to submit that this Constitution, when it provides in Article 125 that the Senate can summon anybody, it means anybody and everybody across the country. Mr. Speaker, the last thing I want to say on that point is that when you read Article 94 of the Constitution, just for purpose of educating those who don't have knowledge about what the Constitution says, Article 94 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, provides for roles of Parliament. Parliament, Mr. Speaker, has been defined in Article 93 to mean National Assembly and the Senate. And if you read Article 94, Mr. Speaker, it says that the legislative authority of the Republic is derived from the people at the national level, is vested and exercised by Parliament. Mr. Speaker, that emphasis is important because when we talk about the role of Parliament in ensuring that we pass all bills, and I've said on the floor of this House, that, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about laws being passed by Parliament, it's either, Mr. Speaker, as been approved by your office as a Speaker, that it doesn't concern counties, or that, Mr. Speaker, all the bills will concern counties. Mr. Speaker, so many things, including amending the Constitution, Parliament protects the Constitution and promotes democratic governance of the Republic. No person or body other than Parliament has the power to make provision on the force of law in Kenya, and so forth. So, Mr. Speaker, when you come to the specifics of Article 94 and 95 and 96, you realize that the only responsibility that has been limited insofar as is the lawmaking, which is bills concerning counties. But in terms of investigating, performing its responsibility, even if you go to Article 124, Mr. Speaker, 124 of the Constitution also recognizes that Parliament, both houses of Parliament, and this is very clear, each House of Parliament may establish committees and shall make standing orders for the orderly conduct of its proceedings, including the proceedings of its committees, Mr. Speaker. Meaning that, Mr. Speaker, the committees of Parliament have equal jurisdiction to investigate any matter across the country. Because there are people who are erroneously lying to themselves out there that Senate should not ask certain issues. And we must make it clear that there is no limitation as to what Senate can inquire in this great Republic of Kenya. And reports of the Senate, just reports of National Assembly, just like reports of the county assemblies, carry, Mr. Speaker, the same weight, constitutional weight, in terms of their reports that have been made by representatives of the people of Kenya, capturing issues that the people of Kenya are talking about. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate our friends in the National Assembly are panicking because I hold an office of Majority Leader and Senator Orengo is holding an office of Minority Leader. And Mr. Speaker, thank God I have worked with Senator Orengo for over 6 years. We do not suffer inferiority complex, Mr. Speaker. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we do not suffer this idea of having to be called big men. Mr. Speaker, our responsibility here is to be servants of the people of Kenya. And Mr. Speaker, when you go around trying to say, oh, you know, my Office of National Assembly should be recognized, or the Office of the Senate should not be recognized, Mr. Speaker, we want to tell those who are suffering that kind of inferiority complex, Mr. Speaker, that we are not interested in entering a pig's fight with them. We are more interested in what we can deliver as members of Parliament for the benefit of the people of Kenya. And I want to tell them this. If you think you want to intimidate us, Mr. Speaker, the fact that the Majority Leader in the Senate, Mr. Speaker, is leading a process of going to court to establish the truth on laws of the Republic of Kenya should actually tell these characters that we are beyond intimidation. Mr. Speaker, we are dealing with matters that are of universe. We are not dealing with matters that are related to a small office there, a small office here. So, Mr. Speaker, if someone wants to be called Mr. Big Man, he can focus on that wherever he is. But, Mr. Speaker, us in this House, whether you are a senator who is a member of a committee, or a majority leader, or a chair of a committee, we recognize that we are here to hold responsibility. We are holding responsibility that given by the people of Kenya to be used for the benefit of the people of Kenya. And we will remain focused on that responsibility. We will not be dissuaded. We will not be, Mr. Speaker, I read, the last thing I want to say, I read a motion in the National Assembly trying to purporting, Mr. Speaker, that this House passes laws with less than 24 people. Mr. Speaker, there is no single legislation in this House that has been passed by this House other than that which has been passed by over 50+1 of senators. Yet, if we go to National Assembly, they pass laws by just acclamation, Mr. Speaker. We cannot even find on the record whether there were 10 people in the House, whether there were 15, despite the fact that they have, Mr. Speaker, a quorum of 50 people out of a house that is like a classroom of three, Mr. Speaker, 3 streams. Mr. Speaker, 4 streams, a school of 4 streams, Mr. Speaker, down there, they cannot even raise 50 senators, members of National Assembly. But this House, there is no day we pass or make any decision that affect Kenyans without having 50+1 senators, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, they must respect this House, because this House makes decisions as per the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, with a super majority, Mr.
Senator
Speaker,
Sakaja?
that is meant to protect the interests of Kenyans.